Hi, everyone. Welcome to Radiant Living, Inspiring Humanity to Thrive. I'm your host, Marisa B. And today I'm honored to have with me the High Priestess, Witch Queen, Elder of the Wiccan community, and Mother of the Minoan Sisterhood, Lady Miw Sekhmet, Carol Bulzone. Carol, thank you so much for coming today. I truly am honored to have you on the show to speak to everyone. How are you?
I'm humbled. Thank you. That was very nice. Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. The first thing I'd like to ask you is, how did you get started on this path? Because you truly are an elder of the community.
That is quite a story. It all started when I was about 18 years old. I, my mom, my grandmother used to, she used to run the parades in Naples for the Black Madonna. She was like the leader of the group for the Black Madonna, and they would parade the streets carrying her and all that. So my whole family was always goddess, goddess, goddess. I was kind of raised that way. And I started reading books, and I, I, I realized that, oh my God, not only because I was psychic, and I didn't know that a witch had a goddess, witchcraft had a goddess. So I said, this is exactly perfect. This is great. I can be psychic, I can do my thing, and I can worship a goddess. And then I started reading, it all came together. So now I have to find other witches. Okay, fine.
Mm-hmm.
The Warlock shop opened up in Brooklyn Heights, and I saw the little ad in the Village Voice in like 1972.
Mm-hmm.
Went there, two gay guys. I figured, oh, great. They wouldn't let me in the Pagan Way study group because
Oh,
I was gay. I'm like, what? Well, we're Gardnerian and it's all male to female, female to male. So we're only accepting couples. I'm really sorry.
mm-hmm.
I'm like, you're a gay man. How can you say that? Right. So I got shut out.
That's
So
very strange, right? That's strange that they were
it
gay
took,
men.
it took 3 years. I said, okay, fine. So I said, well, there's got to be witches in Salem, right? So I drove
Mm-hmm.
to Salem. I met Lori Cabot, and every weekend, almost, I would pretty much every weekend drive to Salem
Mm-hmm.
because that's where the witches were, right? So we were thinking about opening up a shop together. Time went on. I go back to the Warlock shop, and he said, "What are you doing back here? I thought you were going to move to Salem." And I'm like, "No, it actually the deal fell through. The owner of the
The
ice cream
location,
parlor.
right? The location,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it all fell through. So I was meant to be. So I came back to New York, and let's see where I go from there. So anyway, he says, "You know what?" Herman said, I'm going to call Lady Rhea for you." I said, "Excuse me?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm going to call her." I said, "But I thought, 3 years ago, but I'm not gay anymore. Now I'm okay." He's like, "Well, they're a little lightened up a little bit on it,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still male to female, female to male. So you can have a male partner." I was like, "Whatever, fine." Rhea called me the next day at 8 o'clock in the morning. And I
Wow.
met her like 2 days later. I drove to the Bronx. They fell in love with me. I fell in love with them. I got initiated like almost immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And we ended up hooking up and we ended up getting married. And Rhea and I were married for 9 years.
Yeah.
But I always knew that I had to do more. I had to spread this word. It was very important that the divine feminine come into play for a balance. I had a vision when I was 18. You're not going to believe this. I was a kid, lived at my mother's house. I'm looking out the window and I saw a vision, it wasn't a cloud. I saw an old man with a long white beard holding a huge oak tree in his hands, like a phallus. Okay, it was a
Mm-hmm.
tree. I was like, what? It was on my 18th birthday. Then I see a chariot going across the sky with a woman driving it, a goddess
Mm-hmm.
driving it, with two white horses going across the sky. So I'm like, what a gift. So I called my mom I mean, it was quick. This all happened within 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew I had to do more. It was my
Mm-hmm.
calling. Her brother, my mother's brother, was a Catholic priest. So I used to get
Mm-hmm.
communion in the living room on Sundays.
Mm-hmm.
So I was kind of raised with religion. Anyway, she's like, look, as long as you're not into anything negative, you're not doing any dark magic or any. I said, Mom, you know me better than that. This is all about the goddess. She's like, go ahead, knock yourself out, go.
Mm-hmm.
So I joined the coven, and then I was getting kind of annoyed because it wasn't fair that gay men and gay women, that it was so strict with this Celtic tradition, British,
Mm-hmm.
Scottish, and Welsh tradition of male to female, female to male.
Mm-hmm.
I said it's very unfair. Oh,
Oh,
thank you, my dog.
the pooch, yes.
Pooch knocking everything down.
Yeah, that.
You're gonna edit this. You're gonna have to edit this. So because I'm all over the place. Let me get it right.
So you were saying that you were not thrilled with the
And
idea
no, I got
of
really close
of
to
the Gardnerian background, because you said, right, you were
yes,
initiated into a Gardnerian background. You weren't thrilled
exactly,
with
exactly.
that.
Uh, I just thought it was unfair. I thought it
Mm-hmm.
was unfair. And this is like 1974,
Mm-hmm.
1975. And there were only pockets of us. There was a pocket in Long Island, a pocket in Brooklyn, and a pocket in the Bronx. That was it. And it was a
Mm-hmm.
Queens pagan way. So Eddie Basinski and I got really close. Maria, Eddie, and myself. And I had arguments with three different high priests. I had arguments that, you know, you, this is a spiritual religion here.
Right.
This is God and Goddess. There's sun and moon, earth, mother, sky, father. But the moon is only a reflection of the sun. So it really is one, but it's male and female. Do you get that? That
Mm-hmm.
means I have male and female within me, and so do you, and so does everybody.
That's right.
So how can you have a physical plane of reality with a male
Mm-hmm.
or female partner? It doesn't make
Mm-hmm.
sense unless I go
Right.
solitary. I can prove to you that I could draw down the goddess into a woman and the goddess would come. And she did. So I had arguments with three different high priests that were Gardnerian and really strict. They were the women, breeders, you're breeders.
Mm-hmm.
The high priestess was the high priestess, but the high priests back then were God's gift. So, but I'm talking about,
Why do you think they had such a structure? Because then isn't it similar to any other type of religion if it's all that structure or that hierarchical?
well, it became more the high priestess leads the group, but with her high priest. Got to be together.
Mm-hmm.
I would draw down the god into a man, back and forth. So anyway, I said, why can't we have to figure out something. There has to be
Mm-hmm.
something for gay people. Every witch I've met in Salem and all my travels, every gay man I meet is wants to be a witch and he's locked out. We have to. There's got to be a way that
Mm-hmm.
he's like, you know what? I'm going to do some research because you started with Egyptian. Eddie started with. I'm talking to Eddie now. Eddie said he
Yes.
started with Egyptian. I did too. That's why my name is Miw Sekhmet. Miw means cat in
Mm-hmm.
Egyptian, and Sekhmet is the grown-up cat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
For people who don't know, Edmund
lion
Basinski was
goddess.
instrumental in the Minoan Brotherhood tradition,
Exactly.
initially starting the
So,
Minoan Brotherhood.
and Eddie started channeling. I started channeling in his house, and I did mine in my house. Papers all over the floor, and I was always into Egyptian and Greek more so
Mm-hmm.
than the Celtic tradition. Celtic tradition never really fit Carol. It was
Mm-hmm.
always Hecate. It was always Artemis,
Mm-hmm.
or Sekhmet. It was always Greek and Egypt. So Eddie started writing, and he did a lot of channeling, and he came up with the Minoan Brotherhood. And he handed me a red book and binder. And he said, I just gave you a little structure. Okay. You are going to write the book. You fill in the blanks. And we're going to have a Minoan Sisterhood and a Minoan Brotherhood. And every Sabbath, we would get together. The Brotherhood and the Sisterhood would get together. Eddie once climbed in the kitchen window carrying a turkey. And we had a Sabbath house. We all lived in Queens at the time. So Rhea and I lived together. And so the Minoan Brotherhood, now we did this for us. Because there weren't that many Wiccans back then. And never in my wildest dreams would I ever think that the Minoan Brotherhood and the Minoan Sisterhood have gone worldwide.
Yes, it has. It has.
There's 6 or 8 countries in Europe. Now, Italy, had a coven in Italy, Scotland, Brazil, on and on. And the Brotherhood is everywhere. There are so many gay men that write to me, and gay women too. I had to make copies of the Book of Shadows and mail it to them in different states so they could get their end together. And then it was women's spirituality, and it was a place that gay people could go and not be a freak of nature. We're ousted. We're to be shunned. No, this is about freedom. This is about Mother Earth. This is nature.
Right, exactly. Which is surprising. It's surprising that it was set up to ostracize gay and lesbian people, that you had to have your own path to follow. It's sad because funny. You would think that it's all inclusive, loving and respecting all of nature.
But you got to remember, the witchcraft laws were repealed in 1951 in England. I was born in 1951. So I guess they didn't want to come back till they lifted those witchcraft laws. And Gerald Gardner was straight, and he, did the Gardnerian tradition. And Alexandrian is the same as Gardnerian, 99.9% the same. And it was all England, Scotland, Wales. You were Welsh, or you were Gardnerian, or you were Alexandrian. That's it. Or you read a book and you were solitary. Right. So it's grown from 1976 to today, where now all women are allowed in. We even had a trans person come in our circle who actually fainted during the initiation. I never had a fainter before. But anyway, this is sounding so now it's open to all women. And it's growing even more and more and more. Now there are women's circles or women's spirituality. And their cycles, their life cycles. They're, connected to the oceans and the moon. And it's beautiful. It's like the extension of where Gardner ended off. And we just continue.
But I find that a lot, but I find that a lot of the women's circles have a tendency of maybe just concentrating on a goddess or a female form. And I do understand, I do understand from a historical standpoint that a lot of times that was that was squashed. It was squashed in history, but
let me put it to you this way. We have a mother and a father, right? Male and female, not male, female, and it, just male and female. Therefore, higher power, creator, creatrix, universe must be male and female.
Right.
You can't have one without the other.
Right.
They complement each other, and it has nothing to do with physical genitalia.
Right.
We're all male and female. So, okay, you can have a woman's circle and inside be male and female, but you've got to honor the God aspect as well. You have
Yes.
to.
Oh no, I do understand that, but I think that sometimes they go all the way just to the goddess. A lot of female circles now, or I think
That's
they,
fine. That's
you
their
know,
prerogative. You know, they can do that, and they can name it whatever they want to name it.
mhm, yeah,
The more Wiccans, the better, because we're the ones that have to save this planet.
mhm.
You know, I mean, we've
Well,
come
yes,
along,
of course. I mean,
not as much pollution as there was in the 50s. There's a lot more green. I mean, Greenpeace popped up, and so many big,
mhm,
big people putting in big bucks to clean and
mhm,
fix air and get the plastic out of the oceans. And this is our
yes,
work. This is why we're here. And this is why we're here now. And this is why it's grown in leaps and
mhm,
bounds, because it's necessary to sustain life. It's
yes,
necessary. I mean, how many animals have gone extinct? How much wildlife? Now
mhm,
now it's hippos and snow leopards, and there's like 200 tigers over here, and it's ridiculous. We don't want to do this. We want it to grow. We want more green.
I mean,
You're
but
cutting down the Amazon. You cut down the Amazon forest.
well, but that's what I was going to say. That's greed. It's
Yeah.
not. I mean, yes, I do understand that pollution and the changing in environment due to man's pollutants have destroyed wildlife, but a lot of it is greed that's destroying
Exactly.
the
And that's what
wildlife,
we're
the
fighting.
Amazon.
That's the magic we do to
Yeah.
stop the greed.
Hmm.
Stop the greed. Um, Witchcraft, Wicca, is a nature religion. It's, I mean, when I got initiated, they dragged me right off the botanical gardens, and
Hmm.
sitting on a rock, I could actually hear pan flutes in the background in the
Hmm.
forest. I really heard them. And I realized that everything is green, everything
Hmm.
is growing, you know, and the cycles, I mean, everything dies now in the winter. We pull in the harvest, and then
Right.
everything is dead during the winter. It's dead. However, in the spring, out of nowhere, brand new sprouts come out of the ground,
Hmm.
and they have roots, and they
Right.
have arms, and they're alive. They bleed.
Hmm.
Cut a branch, it bleeds. Cut a
Right.
leaf, it bleeds.
Well, it
Rocks
connects us more,
vibrate.
right? It connects us more.
Everything vibrates.
It
Everything.
connects us more when we're involved. I mean, when we're involved in nature, it connects us more with the cycle of life. And that's, after all,
Well,
like you said, that's really what it's all about, right? I mean, it's the cycle of life. It goes on. It's happening. We see it.
that's the proof of reincarnation, because we are of the earth. So what say higher power for lack, all right, it's
Hmm.
easier. Everything is dead, and if everything starts all over again in the spring, and the summer she's pregnant and full, and in the
Hmm.
harvest time when she gives birth, we pull in the harvest.
Hmm.
Okay, then we go into the winter, and everything is
Right.
dead.
Right. Where the light is gone earlier. And yes, of course, the
So that
darkness
proves
comes,
that humans come
or
back as
darkness
well.
comes quicker. Hmm.
We come back, and we keep coming back, because the earth is nothing more than a school. We're here to learn. We're here to correct all the mistakes we made in the past, whatever past
Hmm.
life. If you were a murderer, if you were a nun, you were a good person, you're here to correct or finish what you didn't finish or
Hmm.
correct. You may come back as a man, you may come back as a woman, whatever you need to finish. You may come back with no arms. Maybe you were a serious thief in a past life. All right, I came back, I started teaching at 18. I've been teaching for 50 years.
Hmm.
That's why I came back. An old man, when I was walking down St. Mark's Place when I was 18, this old man came up to me and said, "What are you searching for?" And I looked at him, I said, "What?" He said, "What are you searching for?" I said, "I don't know, but I know I'm going to find it." And I picked up my first witchcraft book in Salem, and it was called Witch. And the first page said, "Witch means Wicca, and Wicca means wisdom, wise one who knows." one who seeks knowledge, harm none, keep it green, do the right thing, help one another. Our brothers, our sisters are Native Americans, very close. Wicca and shamanism are so closely tied. It's remarkable because everything that is picked, every animal that is killed is honored. And the Native Americans used to put gay people on a pedestal. They were the special ones.
No.
They were the special ones of the sun and the moon. And they praised them as special because they knew they had male and female within, more so than the average human will say. Maybe that's why every gay man I meet is a witch. Seriously. And so many gay women. I never expected the sisterhood to grow like this. Never in a million years. We thought we'd just keep it to New York for us, for our circle of men and women doing separate things, because the boys want to have their fun when they close their circle too, and have their feast. Honor the gods and libate bread, wine, whatever. And we keep it a lot of the Gardnerian tradition because of not only the history, but keep it pure. Keep the teachings as pure as possible, but add in your women's spirituality, add in the power of the goddess, the meaning of the blood, of the moon, of the cycles, of the ocean, of why we're here, why we're babies, we grow, we're old, we get sick, we die, we come back, we do it all over again. And we keep
Now, let me ask you, why Gardnerian? Was that the only thing that was around in New York? Why, for example, not like the Alexandrian why was it the Gardnerian? Was that more prevalent during the time?
Yes, but there was a booming Welsh coven out of Magical Child. Warlock Shop turned into Magical Child, Herman and Eddie. Herman worked more with the Welsh tradition. Rhea was brought in Welsh first, and Eddie got handed the Book of Shadows from the Kentucky coven, which was Gardnerian, and he was the quote messenger of the gods, and he brought the Book of Shadows to New York. So Eddie,
because when you refer to Herman, Herman was the gentleman who owned Magical Child, which was a shop in New York City.
Yes, and before that, it was called the Warlock Shop, and it was in Brooklyn Heights.
In Brooklyn, and you actually had a shop as well in New York City called Enchantments
for 21 years.
Correct? 21 years. And you had a shop in Liberty, New York called the Broomstick, correct?
Well, what happened is I really got tired of the concrete and the smells and the trash and the rats in the subways. I needed Central Park wasn't enough. I really needed to live by water. I'm a water sign. I needed to have my feet in the grass. And my dream was to just find a house in the country, in the woods, in a reservoir, miles from, I wanted animals around me and nature around me and trees where I could I found a stream that was like layered of 7 waterfalls. It was so magical and so, you could hear the goddess speaking. If you really listen, you can hear the trees speaking to you. And that's what it's all about.
Indeed.
That's what it's all about. And that's mostly what I teach. It's a nature religion. You call it whatever you want. Back then, it was Gardnerian, it was Welsh, it was Alexandrian. In Salem, it was Celtic. And then there was the Alexandrian branch, which was Gypsy and Richard. They're Alexandrian. And they were initiated in England and brought the Alexandrians here. And Maxine Sanders, of course. So that's how it grew and changed and evolved. We'll put it that way. We evolved. We accepted one another, not as men and women, but as spiritual beings with both sexes, but neither, because spirits have.
Exactly.
If there's just a spiritual tradition, I don't want to call it religion because it's not a religion, it's spirituality, then you have both.
Mhm.
and you honor both, and you respect both, and you honor both. I get it. You want to honor just the goddess. That's your
Mhm.
will. That's your karma. That's your life. That's your
Mhm.
soul path.
Mhm.
That's what you were put here for. I was put here to teach yin and yang, God and goddess, male and female, sun and moon.
Mhm.
Very shamanistic sort of roots, you know.
Yeah. And now you continue to teach to this day.
Yeah, I do. I do. I go online. We have a little chapter called Discord that initiates go to, and we
Yes.
communicate that way, and different traditions chime in, and the
Mhm.
brotherhood gets all excited, and they come in, uh, and the brotherhood is pretty much in almost every state now. Eddie
Yes, yes. It's
must be in
tremendous.
his glory in the Summerland seeing all this, because, like I said, we never dreamed this would happen.
Right.
All because I complained that I didn't want to have a male partner. I wanted to be alone, or
Mhm.
have a woman next to me that I could relate to. It's just, I wanted to fit the right way, even though it was
Right.
spirituality. Regardless, I was still a kid in pagan way, forced to have a male partner and
Mhm.
forced to kiss him, and I didn't want to do that.
Right.
That wasn't my path. It
Mhm.
wasn't my way. And he said, "Well, it's not mine either, but I have a high priestess and I love her and I do it." I said, "I get it. Me too." But
Mhm.
he says, "We're going to make another tradition.
Mhm.
Hell with them if they don't like it. I'm going to go back to ancient Greece, like you said. Let's go back to Egypt and Greece." And he did a lot of digging in
Mhm.
Crete and found so many mysteries and so much magic that was done back then,
Mhm.
just the men. And what I did was, what I put in my book of shadows is the women would gather in a circle around the altar, facing the altar, and then the
Mhm.
men would come in with trays of fruits and offerings, and they would go around the circle, but it would be back to back. So they were facing outward, we were facing toward the altar.
Mhm.
And then we would dance diasul slowly. Diasul means clockwise
Mhm.
around the circle, and then the men would go widdershins around the circle. Now,
Mhm.
yin and yang is white and black. Everything is white and black, day and night. That's another thing.
Mhm.
Day and there's night. You can't only honor the night. You have to have the light, because
Mhm.
without the light, you can't have the dark. Without the dark, you can't have the light.
And I want to say that these are very formal traditions. These are very set traditions that you followed first and then created your own afterwards. But how do you feel about all of these people that are solitary practitioners? Because you have been in traditional setups more. How do you feel about that?
I think that's fine. I even taught some people how to self-initiate, because you have to remember there's a lot of little towns in this country, and there's nobody. It's just them. They
Mhm.
have no one. They have no one to teach them. They have all they can do is pick up a book and read.
Mhm.
So, I always had free lectures at Enchantments. Scott Cunningham, Marion Weinstein, Starhawk came, and he wrote Wicca, a guide for the solitary practitioner. When I ordered the Spiral Dance by Starhawk, I had to order
Yeah.
it by the case. When I
Yeah.
ordered Wicca for the solitary practitioner, I had to
That's
order a
Cunningham, right? Yeah, that's
case.
Cunningham.
Yeah, I had to order a case of just that one book,
Mhm.
because there are people that are alone, and
Right.
they want to honor nature. They want to
Mhm.
grow. They want to understand. They want to
Mhm.
understand the waves and why the oceans do what they do. Why does the moon do what it
Mhm.
does? Why is Stonehenge so aligned to the
Yes.
equinoxes and solstices so perfectly?
Mhm.
And how are the pyramids created? There's thousands of
Mhm.
tons. How did they do that?
Right.
That's another story. Okay. We'll
Right.
find out in 10 years when they land and tell
Mhm.
us how they helped us with
Did
the
you know
magnetics
did you
of it
know
all
Le
too.
Did you
levitate
know Leo Martello or
very well,
Raymond Buckland?
very well. One of my witches balls, uh, it was very funny. Leo Martello was talking to some people and he said, see that Lady Miw over there? She always wears the same costume. He was always very tacky, funny, hilarious witch. And I went over to him. I said, Leo, I never in my life have ever worn the same costume twice.
Mm.
How dare you? He's like, well, I'm your elder. I was like, no, you're not. Actually, Rhea and Eddie are my elders. He's like, but I was, I'm not Welsh. I'm Gardnerian Minoan.
Right,
So,
because Leo Martello did not follow a
he
Celtic
was
path.
more, he was more Strega than anything. He loved that path.
I know. I
He
know.
loved the Strega path.
Yeah.
But it was still Gardnerian Strega, just
Yeah.
like a Gardnerian Minoan, because we try to keep things pure. The altar should be set up the proper way with earth,
Hmm.
air, fire, and water. It shouldn't be mixed up like that. It needs
Hmm.
to have structure.
Hmm.
The pentacle should go here. Your thymus should go here. Your cord should go here. That's the way it was always done, and we try to keep that. But we add to it. You can never add to your book of shadows,
Hmm.
but you can add anything you want to your grimoire. That's your personal
Hmm.
grimoire, and that's
Right.
what we do. And I always tell people, change not a letter, change not a word. This was handed tradition. My papers go back to England, like maybe 9 high priestesses ago.
Hmm.
In other words, in those days, if I went to, say, England, and I went into a Wiccan bookstore and I met a coven and I introduced myself, they would say, well, how were you brought in? And I had to give them the right sentence, or they'd know I was faking. I wasn't a real witch. I was lying. How were you
Mm.
brought in? Feet neither bound nor free. How else were you brought in? Naked, backward, and with a kiss. And then there's a silent salute. And then there's third degree mystery. So, you
Mm.
can't lose these things. You can't lose an entire tradition because you want to work with just women. You really need to keep a basic structure
Hmm.
and add women's spirituality to it,
Hmm.
expand on it, let it
So
grow.
are you, so what do you feel about those that nowadays they say witchcraft without tools? What do you feel of that? There's a lot of them that are out there now that they always say that they follow they follow some form of Wicca, but without tools. They don't need any tools.
Well, that's like me saying, I don't need to do a spell. I do it in my mind automatically. I just creative visualization. I envision myself in a circle. I
Hmm.
envision my what I want. My I want to heal my
Right.
dog. All right. I want to do a healing on my dog. And in my mind, without tools, without a circle, without
Hmm.
people, I will do a healing on my dog.
Hmm.
When my mother was, I didn't know she was dying. She didn't know she was dying. But she was having kidney issues here and there, not serious, just visit the doctor. And one night she wasn't feeling well. I was going to take her to the doctor the next morning for a checkup. And all of a sudden, her whole body started to shake violently, violently. She couldn't control it. I was like, oh no. And I could feel it. Death was coming. I could
Hmm.
hear her. I could feel her. I grabbed my mother and I held her and I put all my energy, all my strength, all my will, all my power into her body and said, not now, not tonight, not me here alone, not now. No, hospital in the morning, ambulance,
Hmm.
not now. Please, goddess, not now. But
Hmm.
this is all in my head.
Hmm.
And just putting the energy down my arm, in my hand, into her body. Everything I had, everything I had. And it stopped. And she had a good night's sleep. And she woke up refreshed. She even put on makeup. And I took her to the hospital. And
Hmm.
they rushed her right up to surgery, right up to the operating room.
Hmm.
And I waited 3 hours. And the doctors came down. I was by myself. And they said, we're very sorry, but when we opened her, she had a mass like we've never seen. We've never seen
Wow.
anything like it. There was absolutely nothing we could do.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So after 5 days on machine, well, she was in a coma after the surgery.
Oh, how
I
horrible.
finally said, let her go, please. She's not here anymore. And they had their little, tete-a-tete conversations like doctors do. And I was just grateful that she didn't die in my arms that night. And that's what, if people don't want to use tools, you don't have to use tools.
Right.
I could go in the woods
So it's
and
just as
a
effective.
rock and a shell and, pour some salt in it or some ocean water or not. I could use saliva. I could use a stream,
Right.
whatever's handy. I've done circles in the woods by myself with no tools. It's wonderful. You don't need anything but yourself because you are. There's this old saying that we used to pass around the Gardnerian circles. I would say to the man next to me, remember thou art God. And then he would say to the woman next to him, remember thou art goddess. And it wasn't an ego thing of, I'm a goddess. It's remember your spirituality. She's inside of you. God and goddess are inside of you all the time. God is in everything, everywhere.
Would that the world see it that way, right? We would be living a whole other way, right?
This is what it
that's
was
something
like
to
back
take
in the
with us.
day when the little old lady was doing herbal medicine in town and witch, because the patriarchy, the church, the money, the gold, the power,
Wow.
the power of the male, the power of the penis, the power of male superiority.
Right. But don't you feel, see, I feel we give them power because if we did not, I feel that it's the populace. I say this all the time. We give them power, even politicians, we give them power. Theoretically, we're in charge. We really are in charge. People don't see that. We are in charge. We can actually get rid of them. We can get rid of them. We don't need them to rule.
Back in the day, as far back as it goes, there were queens. And usually when there were queens, you very rarely had a war because when you had a king, he wanted more land, more. Queens didn't. They were satisfied. They had a little more upstairs back then. But the patriarchy fought. And the only way they could do this was by hiring killers, basically, torturers, the Inquisition. And 9 million European women died. And the men took over and they built the Vatican. I mean, priests get paid a salary. Nuns don't get anything.
Right.
Okay. What's that about?
Right. They were working. They were really more or less working
They
for
bow
free.
down. They bow down. Bowed. Okay, fine.
But that whole system, is
matriarchy. They wanted women's power. And that was the only way they could get it was to burn us, kill us off. They didn't even get the right witches because we hid. The tools, back then, a broom, okay, a house broom. We used it for cleansing to get rid of the boogers out of the house or nasty energy. But they didn't know that. It was just a broom, okay? A knife was just a knife to cut your bread, but we used it as an extension of our right arm, of energy, of power. That's how Ben Franklin actually invented electricity. Now. That's how because he knew that if he put a key and it went up to the sky and lightning hit it, that energy connected with the universe. That power. That's where it came from. Some witches used to use keys instead of adamis. But like I was saying, if an inquisitor would come into one of their sheds, they would just see a knife, a kitchen knife, a broom. A wand was just, a stick you throw in the fire, a cauldron you cook in, flowers. We picked flowers and we put them on the table. So we were covered. We were safe. And with the women's tradition, basically, the first law I wrote was, what no man may know, nor woman tell. Because it's personal female stuff. It's ours. We earn that.
Right.
They have their own mysteries, their own seed, their own power. But they don't put it over us, and we don't put it over them. We're balanced. Again, that yin and yang. It's a circle, but it's split in half of light and dark. But it's not dark. It's all light. It's a reflection.
Right. Now, where do you see this going in the future? Because you've
It's
been in
all
this
over the
so
place
long,
now. You know,
but right.
it was so structured back then. I mean, we had circles in the Enchantments garden free every Saturday. Free, teaching free pagan way, free magic circle. Now they're charging money to have a magic circle, charging money to make a broom. Things have changed. And everybody's begging me to write this book because a lot's getting lost. A lot is just becoming pop witches again in some ways. I mean, I can't mail my book of shadows over to Naples, Italy, you know? So they have their outline, and they're adding their own Minoan sister stuff in there. And that's good. It's okay. It's their tradition. It's still the Minoan Sisterhood, but they don't have that Gardnerian background. But they still have the altar structure because it's in the Minoan book. A lot of the Gardnerian structure is in the Minoan. Just get them started to work with, to start with, to enter a circle. Because when you cast a circle, nothing evil or negative can penetrate it. No dark spirit or lost soul, wandering ghost that's, a trickster spirit can come in. They have to learn how to cast a magic circle. So you have to have a basic structure. So I don't know what a lot of the young ones are doing today. I mean, they're reading books, but some of their books today are pop witch, new age. Yeah, I get a kink.
Yeah, you think
it's
they've created a lot. You're saying they've created a lot of new information or different information in there.
I just feel like just feel like some of the god goddess aspect of spirituality of it all is getting lost or reworked. I mean, a lot of them. I mean, the new kids I met in Salem, I gotta say it, they got it down, and the brotherhood is there, and they're pushing it. Goddess, God, goddess, God, structure. These are your earth, air, fire, water. You got to have, what's a pentacle? What's a pentagram? Pentagram you draw in the air. A pentacle is something you wear. It's different. You need that. What do the 5 points mean? Earth, air, fire, water, spirit. North, east, south, west are your 4 watchtowers. That's the structure of Stonehenge. That's their circle. That's their 4 quarters on the solstices and equinoxes. So thank goddess they keep that. They've got to keep that. If they just go out and, I'm a witch. Hi, I'm a witch. I read a book. I know what to do.
Well, yeah.
You see?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, well, I know that I had mentioned earlier, if you knew Raymond Buckland, I remember when Raymond Buckland had written his book, and he had broken away, and he had gone more with a Scottish tradition, and he had broken away from the traditional, I think he was Alexandrian, though. I don't even think he was Gardnerian. He might have been Alexandrian.
No, he
was
elder.
Gardnerian.
He's my elder.
Yeah, and he broke away, right? He wrote his own book, and he created his own more Scottish system.
No, Laurie Cabot did more Scottish system of Celts. He was Gardnerian. Ray Buckland's Gardnerian all the way to his death. So was I. I'll always be. I was brought in Gardnerian, and I respect that. And I will always respect that because it took me 3 years of searching and reading and trying to find other witches and traveling all the way to Boston, all the way to Salem, back and forth. And then I was a bartender, so I'd come back and go right to work.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got fired from that bartender job because one of the customers noticed my rings and said to the owner, "Your bartender's a witch. She's a witch." Yeah, I got
Really?
fired. Yeah,
That
I
was
got
in the
fired.
70s? In the
Yep,
70s that
yep.
happened?
70s. I got fired. We were still
Wow.
underground in the 70s. That's why I couldn't find anybody. And I didn't know about Long Island, that one Long Island pocket. I only knew
Well,
the
that's where
little
Raymond
train.
Buckland was out, and Raymond Buckland was out
Ohio.
in Long Island.
He was in
No, but
Ohio.
he lived in Long Island for a while. Didn't he? He lived out on Long Island for a while.
I think that's where the Gardnerian Coven in Long Island got its roots.
Mm-hmm.
I remember correctly.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
what do you have to say? What do you have to say to the young today? What the young people that are searching for an answer, young people that are trying to find out about traditions or different systems, what would you say to them?
I
Where
would
should they
tell them
start?
they should start with the older books that are still in print from the 70s, from the 80s, from the 50s, that are reprints and reprints. People like Ray Buckland, number one. Doreen Valiente, big number one. She's my grandma. She was unbelievable. Sybil Leek, read everything you can. She's got maybe 6 books still in print. Get them. My friend Paul Husson wrote Mastering Witchcraft. That was one of my first books. And I learned so much from that little book.
Mm-hmm.
I did an apple spell and it worked. And I was so amazed with myself being all of 19, 20 years old. So I would tell them a lot of the books today are kind of fashionable. They kind of stick to tradition, but they pretty much Llewellyn puts out a lot of.
Llewellyn, yeah, Llewellyn Publications, yes.
Yeah, they put out, Wiser is like primo. Llewellyn has been putting out a lot of anything goes, new age kind of. So I would recommend the old book list of the ancient witches that are pretty much gone now, and also Laurie Cabot, because Laurie Cabot's system is very scientific. It's very magical.
Mm-hmm.
Her power of the witch is incredible because she goes through the chakras and a scientific system based on the Kabbalion. The Kabbalion
Mm-hmm.
is a book that
Kabbalion, yes.
everybody should get,
Should read and should read.
live by those 7
Mm-hmm.
principles,
The 7
because
principles, yes.
that's everything. That's
That's
the
right.
all in the all.
That's right. It is
You
the
know,
all, yes.
that is like my number one at the top of my book list.
Mm-hmm.
Get the Kabbalion any way you can.
That's
I used to
right.
hand them out. Read this book, read
Mm-hmm.
this book, and then Spiral Dance, and then, like I said, Sybil Leek, Doreen Valiente, Ray Buckland, Gerald Gardner. Gerald Gardner, of
Yes, Gerald
course,
Gardner.
everything by Gerald Gardner.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he loved the scourge too much. That was his little thing. But we only do that at initiations because you take an oath. You sworn to secrecy, not to break your oath, because back then you got caught, you got tortured. So we stick to the old tradition, the old ways. And I still feel for that because I was probably one of those people that got burned, because I've got scars. I mean, I've got scars on my ankles and my wrists, kind of
Oh,
like
wow.
crucifixion kind of stuff. I've got a burn only on my left breast.
Oh.
I mean, 3rd-degree burns from when I was 1 year old.
Wow.
Scalding hot coffee hot
Oh, what? Oh,
fell
coffee.
on me. I was under a year old. And an intern just taped it up. And my mother said, the baby's crying and acting weird. A funny smell. And when the doctor came in and unbandaged, she said, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." The intern, she's scarred for life. There's nothing we can do.
Oh, wow.
It's all ripply. But those scars are past life memories.
Past life.
Every scar you've got, is there something to it? Maybe a broken leg, there's something to it. For me, what I always felt was I cut off my left breast when I was in Amazon in Greece, maybe
Mm-hmm.
3,500 years ago. I don't know. We've all had hundreds of lives,
Mm-hmm.
thousands. There are old souls, there are young souls, but
Mm-hmm.
new souls aren't created. They're still the one source. All those souls are already made,
Mm-hmm.
even in all the galaxies and all the other planets. I mean, they're way ahead of us. Those guys up there, they're way ahead of us. But no, they don't. Then you can't manufacture a soul. It just gets reincarnated.
Recycle. Isn't
Recycle.
that's almost a Jewish belief, I think, too. In the Jewish system, they have the guff where there's only a
See
limited
how
amount of souls, and they
it,
just right,
it
and
all
they just are
started?
reincarnated or come back out. The souls come back.
Exactly. It all started from the nature religion, and then it spread out to the patriarchy.
Mm-hmm.
Even in the Jewish tradition, you know how strict they are. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, when a woman has her period, she can't be near a man. That's
Well,
like,
that's Orthodox. That's I don't
yeah,
know about
what?
Reformed. I don't know about Reformed Judaism. I know that's in Orthodox
But
Judaism that is true, right? And
what
they
I'm
go to
saying
a
is,
bath.
what started as a nature tradition
Mm-hmm.
or nature religion or a worshiping of the earth went to the patriarchy, and
Mm-hmm.
it split off, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
Catholics are, they don't know it, but they're very close to paganism. The incense, the
Well, it was
candles,
an easy, it's an easy
the
way.
bread,
It's
the wine.
a lot of pomp and circumstance. There's a lot of pomp and circumstance. They like to put on a big
They
show,
stole it. They stole it.
big show,
Chris,
but it's a
Christmas
good
is
way to get
yours.
everybody in the building, right? Think about it. They put on a good show because it's a great way to get everybody in the building, and we'll just add everybody's, belief in there, so we can
Jesus
make sure
was
we get
born in the
everybody.
summer. Jesus was born in the summer. But they had to figure it out. How can we
Mm-hmm.
keep this Yule log and this tree thing going?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that the pagans
Right,
put up
right.
the tree.
Yeah.
So they turned it into Christmas. Christ, Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
You see, they stole Halloween. They stole all our eight Sabbaths were stolen and restructured to suit their benefit, to wipe out the
Mm-hmm.
pagans, to wipe out the women with power, to wipe out the women, to have the men in power. The church was, they led all of Europe. They took over. And missionaries went everywhere, even to
Mm-hmm.
the new kingdom, America. Those missionaries came here and told those
Right.
Native Americans, hey, you don't speak that language anymore. You don't worship the sun and moon anymore. Jesus. You see,
Yeah, I mean, it's so sad because nobody minds their business, right? Nobody really, theoretically, nobody minds their business if they would have stayed put where they were, that's
well,
but
that's what they,
they go to conquer lands and usurp other human beings, which is sad.
yeah.
Sad history for the
Well,
planet.
yeah, that's why like Crete was mostly all women. They were female dominated
Hmm.
because that's what they were used to, generations of generations. And that's where we went back to find
Hmm.
more about female magic, who we really are.
Hmm.
We're not just baby breeders. We're God,
Right.
just like everybody else is God.
Hmm.
Everybody, hate to say it, but even people like the ex-president, we all have God within us.
Right, right.
And when we die, we don't believe in hell. I kind of wish there was a hell because then bad people like that could suffer for eternity and it's very painful. What happens is you get a life review. There are heavens, there's the universe. You
Hmm.
life review yourself, everything you did, everything good and everything bad. And you want to come back and try to correct those bad things you did.
Hmm.
The raping of the 5-year-old, you got to fix that. All right. You do a life review. That's karma.
Hmm.
There's no old man in the sky that's that's going to punish you and is mad at you, and he's an angry God because you sinned. You must confess. Confess to what? No, you confess to yourself. You did it. He can't say,
Mm-hmm.
you're forgiven. Just say a prayer, go away, you're fine. But I'm being molested. Don't worry about it. Yeah. so,
Well,
so, yeah. So I think I better write this book as much as I don't want to. I really
mm-hmm.
don't want to, but I feel like I have to. And people are asking me to. And
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot
Well,
of
I would think
what
for
I think
posterity,
I
many
think a lot
people
of what
want
I
you to
said
write.
to you is not written down anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people need to know that they're not less than. Nobody
Mm-hmm.
is less than
That's
anybody else.
right. That's right.
We are all equal. We all
That's right.
bleed red. I don't care what color you are.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you, 30 years from now, you're going to find that religion is pretty much going along the wayside by 2050. It's going to
Mm-hmm.
be very, very much spirituality by then.
Mm-hmm.
I know this. The religions are dwindling. The
Mm-hmm.
strict, you know,
Well, the structures or the
the angry
confines
strict,
of these.
and the putting down of women as lesser, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I always wanted to be a priest
Anybody
when
or anybody else that doesn't look like them.
I was like, why can't I be a priest? Why, Mom? Why can't I be a priest? You be a nun. I don't want to be a nun. I want to be a priest. I want to hold a chalice up in the air. When my uncle died, the priest, my mother's brother, I wanted his chalice, but they donated it to a priest who was poor that needed
Mm-hmm.
it. So I understood that. But I really wanted to be a priest. So I grew up and I became a priestess. I didn't know that was going to happen. I didn't know it was my calling. It just was, just is. It's who I am. I would never denounce the goddess. You could torture me, burn me, do anything you want to me. I would never denounce the goddess. The mother goddess, I have seen her. I know her. I hear her. She's in my heart. She's in my soul.
Mm-hmm.
She's my everything. And when we draw down the goddess, many times she
Yeah.
comes and she says things you couldn't believe.
Mm-hmm.
And they do manifest. And it's incredible. I know who God and Goddess are.
Now,
That
how can
energy,
people find out
energy
about the
strong.
Minoan Sisterhood or the Minoan Brotherhood? Both of them. How can people find out about that? Is there something online with both or either or? Is it all together? Because they are two separate paths, really.
Sadly, people are basically telephoning each other. How can I find a brotherhood in my neighborhood? How
Mhm.
can I find a sisterhood in my state? And that's how it's spreading.
Right. So there's nothing really online. There's nothing, I mean, other than certain information, there's nothing really online.
I suppose a Minoan book should be put out. I mean, there is sort of one. There's the Bull of Heaven, which is all our history,
Oh, okay.
from Gerald Gardner to Ed Basinski
Mhm.
to the Minoan Brotherhood, Minoan Sisterhood. It's way thick. It's written by
Right.
Michael
And who,
Lloyd.
Michael, who, because I'd like to put that in the description. Michael Lowry.
No, Lloyd. Michael. Do I have this right? I'm having a brain fart. Excuse me. It's called The Bull of Heaven.
The bull. Okay. I'll have to.
It's basically the life story of Ed Basinski.
Mm-hmm.
And if they want to know about the Minoan Brotherhood or Minoan Sisterhood or how to
Mm-hmm.
start one, that's the book to go to.
Mm-hmm. So
Okay.
I definitely will put that into the description. And how can people find out about what you're doing, or how can people contact you? Or I know you're very busy, and I know I say semi-retired because, even though you don't have your retail shops anymore, you're still very much involved in the community.
Well, I'm pretty much retired. I'm pretty much retired. I'm
Right.
73.
I know, but
And
retired, but still
I
an
want to be the
elder.
one that can sit in the back and watch the youngins cast the circle.
Hmm.
Watch how they draw down the moon. I want to see them do it. I want to make sure they got it so they can
Hmm.
teach the next generation. And it's bad because I haven't been able to sit back and relax and
Hmm.
watch the others do it because well, now I'm in the country, so I've got to meet the
Hmm.
witches here and see where they're at. I may end up having to teach them. I don't know. I don't know.
Hmm.
I know there are witches here. I'm up
Hmm.
in the mountains of Catskill in New York,
Yeah.
but there are witches here, and I want to get to know them, and I want to see what they're doing,
Hmm.
and maybe do some lectures. I don't know. Maybe start something up.
Oh, that would be
We could,
nice.
we could do
Yes.
that. We could do that, and I'll try to get on it.
Mhm.
Get a little bit
Well,
out of
I want
retirement.
a little bit out of retirement. Well, I do want to thank you so much for coming on the show. I so appreciate it. I so appreciate your time to speak to the audience about all
My
the wonderful things that you've done and that you're still doing, and all the information that you've made available to everyone who really is seeking it. And I want to say happy Halloween to you. Happy
thank you.
Samhain.
I have to say one more thing. It's very important. The first thing I teach is humility.
Mhm.
Humility. I used to give out written tests, test questions, 20 questions. Why do you want to be a witch? If they put down power, get out.
You're out.
If they put knowledge, I want to know about the goddess. Come on in.
Mhm.
Humility is the first thing I teach.
Mhm.
Yeah. I had only two out of maybe 100 initiates that got onto power trips. I know one that even invented a fourth degree. You can't change the book like that. That's what I mean by keeping to tradition. There were three
Mhm.
degrees, period. Always was, always has been.
Mhm.
Who are you to make a fourth degree?
Mhm.
You're not the Pope. The Pope got us. You can't put in a fourth degree and just make it up. It's like adding an eighth, ninth, and tenth to the Kabbalion, for example,
Mhm. Right,
making up
exactly.
extra added attractions from the universe.
Right.
Making it up. That's the same thing.
Yes.
Keep that book pure.
Hmm.
Find a coven. Find a real coven. I don't care if it's Alexandrian, Minoan, Gardnerian, Welsh, Celtic. Go there. Learn. And if your high priest and high priestess has kissed the ring and bow to me, get the hell out. That's not what you want. You want a teacher that you can learn from.
Mhm.
That's not going to be on a power trip. And I think pretty much in this country we've got it together. I think there's a lot of good high priests and high priestesses out there that have been taught
Mhm.
well and read the right books, not the devil's prayer book or something stupid like that. Because we don't believe in the devil. There is no devil, no such thing. Christian concept to scare people, to keep them in control, you know, keep them controlled so they don't
Mhm.
murder people, keep them down. Anyway,
Mhm.
I'll let you go. Just had to say
Well,
that
I want to
humility.
thank you again so much, and hopefully we'll speak soon. We'll actually see each other soon too,
I
off
hope
the
so.
air, right?
Absolutely.
Thank you
Have
so
a
much,
wonderful
Carol.
thank you and happy Halloween and blessed Samhain.
Same to you, Carol. Thank you. Bye now.
Bye bye.